quality. Well, hello there. Greetings all. I'm Jen here in Singapore, and thank you for joining us on Dear Future Grandkids. This is the show that delves into the life lessons, legacies, and unforgettable stories as we ask the thought-provoking question, what would you say to your future grandkids? In a world where time flies by so very quickly these days, we're pressing the pause button and building a video time capsule live with this week's, dare I say, very, very funny guest. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you. We are live on Facebook now and on YouTube. Thank you so much. We always appreciate that. So you're welcome to send your comments and questions as well, and we will definitely answer them live on the show. So let's get into it. Today's guest would be proud to tell his future grandkids that he's an Egyptian comedian based in Hong Kong and has been steadily gaining popularity for his unique perspective on life in Asia, often blending cultural observations with his own experiences as an expat. Now, in addition to his work on the Ho Ho Hong Kong podcast, where he shares his insights on the city's culture with co-host Vivek Mabubani, our previous guest on Dear Future Grandkids, he performs live across the Asian region and in Australia. Now, his performances, including sold-out shows at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, have garnered him a growing fan base. And he started his stand-up career in 2013 in Shanghai, China, where he was a regular feature, MC, and headliner at China's only full-time comedy club. Then he went on to headline in more than 15 countries and 40 cities. Now, that is very, very impressive. So, on the show today, live on Dear Future Grandkids, please welcome comedian Mohammed Magdi.
Yay! Hey, everyone.
How's it going? How are you?
Good. All good. Very good. Thank you. It's a sunny, beautiful sunny day here in Hong Kong. I am in my shoebox apartment that costs way too much money.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand the pain as well. I live here in Singapore. It's very expensive, but
Yes.
maybe not the same size. We are just a little bit bigger than Hong Kong, but it's definitely just as expensive or even more. So it's good to
I
have you on
think
the
you
show.
guys blame people coming from Hong Kong over the last few years as well for jacking up the rent, right?
Actually, that's true. That was during after COVID or during COVID, a lot of people then came over, and yes, and then the rent kind of went up. But you know what? Let's not start the show with something depressing in terms of our finances and how expensive everything is. we could
Fair enough.
we could talk all day about it, but more importantly, let's get to know
Yes.
you, and let's get to know you in what we call our quick fire segment in terms of questions coming you thick and fast. Okay, so
Let's do
here
it.
we go. How many times? Wow, talk about first questions. How many times have you been fired?
Officially, like 2 times.
Okay, and these
Yes.
were what kind of jobs were they?
One was I was working for a company in Shanghai that makes chain restaurant furniture. And at some point, I was messing around too much with like the business trips. I was having too much fun. And they were like, all right, that's enough of that. And then they fired me.
Okay, not bad. Okay, but at least you got fired because you were having fun. Now, next quick
Yes.
fire question: what 3 words would your friends use to describe you? 3 words they would use to describe you.
Cheerful would be one. I was described as cheerfully abrasive by a Australian reviewer for one of the shows that I did. So cheerful abrasive, I guess can just embrace it.
That's okay. Cheerfully
Yeah.
abrasive is good. It's a bit of an oxymoron.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
why
I'm
not?
like, what exactly? Yeah. I think she tried to write it as a negative thing. I'm like, actually, I kind of like that.
Yeah, I
Whatever.
think that's good. I think it makes you It makes you interesting, right? Multi-layered.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now,
I think actually multi-layered would be the last one.
okay, multi-layered. I like that. I
There you
like that.
go.
Now, if you
Yeah.
could wake up tomorrow with a new skill that would help you achieve your wildest dreams, what would it be? Wow, that's a big one. Like a skill that could help you achieve your wildest dreams. I'll read mine.
It's definitely flying, but not because of the simple like Superman flying. It's because I need
Yeah,
a visa to go everywhere. So if I can fly past the airports every time I just land in the countries, that would make my life so much easier.
exactly. So just cross border without the visa experience and having to go and travel and getting stuff stamped and all of that, right?
Yes. So I also realized just now that I'm talking to someone who has like you live in Singapore has the strongest passport in the world, and I would like to marry a Singaporean at some point. Anyway, keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah. We'll keep going, but one of the but full clarity, I'm actually Malaysian, so I'm actually my passport's
Yes.
not as great, but okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not that great.
I haven't been kicked out of Singapore, so that's a good thing. Now, next question is, if you wrote an autobiography, right, your own
Mm.
autobiography, what would its title be?
Who? I did not think of that. Let me think for a second. Um, I think I would just go with. It's not that bad.
It's not that. It's not that bad.
It's
Okay.
not that bad. Because that's something I tell myself a lot, or tell other people around me when something gets tough or whatever. But in general, it's just not that bad. So I think that's what I would go with.
You know what? I like that. I genuinely
Yeah,
just anything. You know what? It's not that bad.
it's not
It's
that
not that
bad.
bad. It's not that bad.
Yes.
Mohammed Magdi, read my
Yeah.
story. It's
Yes.
not that bad.
It's not that bad.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. And now, next question coming your way. If you could transmorph, I don't even know if that even a word. If you can transform
It is
into an
now.
animal, yeah. If you could do that, if you could transmorph into an animal for 24 hours, what would you pick and why?
I would probably pick a snake. Uh, I am Year of the Snake, so I'm born in Year of the Snake, and this is the Year of the Snake. But also, I'm genuinely very intrigued by them and how they live, because they seem so like conniving, but also kind of stupid in a way. And I think I can relate to them, because sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I think I'm clever, and then like something happens, I'm like, I'm actually objectively dumb and should it not. So I think I can probably be a snake, just to be like, is that the same experience they're having? Because I look at them and I can be like, yeah, I think I'm clever, but also very dumb. So I would like to be a snake and see like how snakes talk to each other as well, because it seems like it's all a lot of tongue action and no talk. So
You know what? You know what the snake will say to you while you're watching them, and wondering what they're like and their lives are like. They're just going to turn to you and say,
yeah.
"You know what? It's not that bad."
Exactly. Perfect. The snake's like, yeah, man, our life's
Yeah,
fine. It's not that bad.
it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Now, final, quick fire question for you, and I think this is quite a good one. Name
Mm,
something about today's world, the world we live in, right
mm,
here, right now, that you
mm.
think your future grandkids would find completely insane.
Um, I think people who don't think they have ADHD today, I think it's just gonna be so normal when my grandkids are around that they're like, wait, someone was in denial about having ADHD? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, they'd be like, you
I
don't have
think
ADHD?
Yeah, I think everyone would by default, because of the way we're living now. It's not even a thing, Like I look at my own mom, I think has it, because she would be like looking up a recipe on the phone, and then suddenly she's watching highlights of the game last night. I'm like, hey, the recipe, hello. It's all of us.
That is so interesting because I have
Yeah.
kids who have actually diagnosed with ADHD, and my wife
Right.
looks at me and she looks at her own dad as well and goes, "You guys definitely, 100%. It's just that you haven't been tested, but
Yes.
100% you guys have it."
I actually genuinely believe no one needs to get tested. It's just like we all have it. Let's just move on. So everyone has it to a degree, I think. So I think, yeah, the grandkids will be like, yeah, were you guys still testing? What are you doing? Yeah, everyone has it. Just
Yeah,
whatever.
we just start by default that everyone has it.
Exactly. Yes.
Unless you don't, then you don't.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It would be a very rare case. We'd probably have superhero movies of the one person who doesn't have
Who doesn't
ADHD
have?
and
Who
what people
doesn't have?
like.
Everyone's staring at this person, going, "He's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
thinking. He's not
exactly.
right. Yeah, what's going on here?" Now, fantastic. Next is, I
He
know
has been
that.
reading the same book for 5 minutes.
No, exactly. He could pay attention. What's going on? He's following the chapters. Um, and
Yes.
and moving on from that, in terms of paying attention and everything else, but we know in terms for work, you work for yourself, which is fantastic. But is that probably
Mm,
because you don't like authority, you don't like, sort of taxes, you don't like following a ton of rules, and probably because you've
yeah.
had some crazy work experiences?
Yeah, so it's all the combination of all of these things. One, I have big problems with authority in general, and unfortunately, this came from my dad because he was a police officer and he was very
Oh,
authoritative. So from a young age, I've always kind of been like, just like kind of annoyed by that, I would say. So I don't like too much authority or things that I don't understand, because a lot of in the military world or the police world, it's always like, just do as I said, because that's the rules or that's the
yeah,
hierarchy.
yeah,
So, and in Asian culture it's quite strong too, obviously. Like the boss is respect, like obviously respect is needed, but the boss's word sometimes can be uncontested, and I find that quite weird, in the sense of like the work culture. I'm like, you can still say your opinion.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't like authority much, but also my background's accounting. So when I studied the tax system, most of it didn't make sense to me. So I would happily not pay taxes whenever I can get away with it, because yeah.
That's amazing. So, so accountancy, and then also with growing up in a household where your dad's a police officer, and obviously it's just all about you just have to listen to me, and that's it, right? You
Yeah,
can't question authority in terms of the
you can't
hierarchy.
question authority. Yeah, yeah. So I have always been kind of, going the opposite way, which is like, I'm questioning everything pretty much. And that also led me to, like, leave countries and move
Mm,
continents and stuff, just to be like, okay, if the system is like this here, I can't change this system, I can just change my surroundings and go somewhere else. So one of
nice.
the main threads of when I do a longer stand-up set, like a headline set, is talking about moving from Egypt to China for freedom of speech, which is already like
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. Let's go. Let's go to perhaps what they say is the most controlled environment in the world in terms of free
Exactly.
press. But
Yes.
you know what? It's all relative at the end of the day, right? It's all relative
Yeah, I
to.
mean, it's also, that's the thing. Like, you don't know what I'm joking. Am I joking about Egypt or China or myself for my bad decisions? Right? That's why this concept works.
Nice. And then also
Yeah.
in terms of your job, before that, when weren't working for yourself, you once had a
Yes.
really crazy job assignment that sent you from China, where you were based, with your Chinese
Yeah.
colleague to Iraq. Can you tell me
Yes.
what that's about?
Yeah, so we were, as I said, it's the same job that I eventually got fired from. So when little bit of backstory, when I got to China to teach English because that was just easy at the time. Anyone can teach English, and I was in northeast China, close to Harbin, if you are familiar with
Yeah,
the Chinese geography. And
yeah.
I didn't know it's that cold, so I almost froze to death. And then eventually, I'm like, I need somewhere warmer, and took me a year and a half to move to Shanghai, where it's warmer and nicer. And I found this job that looked for a regional manager for the Middle East to expand their business for the furniture business. And my only qualification is that I spoke Arabic. That's it. So I was very underqualified for the job, but of course I'm like, they offered me a job and absolutely took it. And
Yeah.
I was in charge of a $2 million account, with, yeah, very little experience. And then this is when I started going like, oh, I can just go to the Middle East whenever I want. So eventually that took me to, we're opening a TGI Fridays in Iraq, which is already like just
Yeah.
wild.
Wow, it is an American
Yeah.
franchise in Iraq. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're opening in Erbil. Erbil at the time, it's 2014, 15, was part of Kurdistan. It still is, but Kurdistan was being treated kind of as a separate country, but it's still part of Iraq. So, but the Chinese colleague who's never left China in his life, he's the head engineer, so he's supposed to like check on the product and stuff before the opening. And and then we fly. He's just excited to leave China and like, try something else. So I was also the fixer because I speak a little bit of Mandarin. So he was just asking all kinds of like random questions on the way and stuff. And when we get there, if you know the history at the time, ISIS took over like pretty much while we're landing. So
Fun
his
times.
great times, and his wife from China just calls him. And she goes, "Hey, ISIS looking for all those foreigners. They will probably kill you and take your head." So, and then he goes, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, I've seen all these videos, and they only kill foreigners." So he leaves, and then he didn't tell me, basically.
What?
So yeah, he just never told me. He just left the hotel, and when I knock on his door the next day to go to breakfast,
Really?
he
You just left?
like the reception lady goes, "Oh yeah, your Chinese friend, he left." I'm like, "What do you mean he left?" And she goes, "Yeah, he told me to call him a car to the airport at midnight. Did he not tell you?" I'm like, "Nope."
What?
So,
He
and then I
literally
call my
left
wife
you.
back in Shanghai. He just left me. And then I call my boss back in Shanghai, and I go, "Hey, this guy left me. What's going on?" And she goes, "Yeah, he's right here. Do you want to talk to him?" So he's already went back to Shanghai. Like by the time I woke up, and so I call him. I'm like, "Man, like, why would you leave me here?" And he goes, "Yeah, my wife told me that he's looking for all these foreigner beheading videos, and I am foreigner. You look just like them, so you will be fine." I'm like, "Nice." He's like, "They're not gonna think you're from somewhere else. You look the same. You all look the same." This is also when I learned like racism is a universal language, and it's so beautiful because we all have it. It's just like you need to just dig it out of someone, and you'll find it eventually.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one
Mhm.
thing thinking like that. It's just that you guys were colleagues working in the same company, traveling from China where you were both based. He could have at least knocked on your door to say, "Hey, I'm feeling really scared. I'm going to head
Yes.
back now. Would you like to head back with me?" Could be the most courteous thing to do to a work colleague, would it be?
I feel like his logic was probably like if he gets in trouble, he can talk his way out of like he referring to me. If I get in trouble, I can speak their language, right? And they might think I'm one of them in his own word. And
Well,
he's like, "I have no chance. I don't speak the language. If this guy's not around, they're gonna kill me." So, and he's like, "I'm out." So he just went back.
that is
Yeah, that was one of
that
the wildest ones for the. And I stayed, actually completed the project. I had to hire local crew and complete the project myself. So we opened eventually.
no way. You got the
Yeah, yeah,
job
yeah.
done.
I got the job done. Actually, to his credit, he knew I can hire local crew because I can speak the language. So, which I did. And then the funny thing, obviously, I left after like 5 days or whatever. And the funny thing is, like, as soon as ISIS got too close, they shut down the project. Because they're
Oh
like,
my
this
god.
is the only American chain restaurant in the whole country. If they
Yeah,
come, that's the first thing they go for. So the company
exactly.
just shut it down.
I'm surprised that they actually continued with the project in the 5 days when that was all going on, and it was,
It
"Hey,
it opened.
we're ready for business."
Yes, yes, it opened. I wasn't there for the opening. I was actually kind of scared, so I also left.
Oh my, oh my! I tell you
But
what,
actually,
in
between
terms,
Iraq, between Erbil, where we were, and Mosul, which is the second biggest city, which had already fallen to ISIS at the time, there was all this like American troops, like like tanks and stuff. So they had actually told the TGI Fridays people like, "We are securing this. Unless they have planes or drones, you guys will be fine." So that's why they opened.
open for American soldiers on the way. Come
Pretty
and
much,
dine at
yes,
Fridays.
exactly. It's yeah, a piece of home.
Yeah, I tell you what, that is the best story I've ever heard. Like not only on the show, ever. I mean that
I'm
and to
glad to
live
hear.
through that, I just don't know how you're gonna top it, but I think you're gonna have to try because now we want you
Mm.
to pick up two objects from your work or your travels that you would definitely like to share and show to your future grandkids. And you have to tell the story about your TGI Fridays as well.
I actually prepared one, and I like to challenge myself, so I'll do one at random from the next item. So the one I prepared was
Yeah.
is the ticket for the first headliner show I've ever done, which is in
Nice.
Beijing, China, and is it says here the date on it. It's May 2000. It's 31st of
24.
May 2014. Yeah,
Nice. And I can see it's like 50 RMB
it's
for a
50
ticket.
RMB.
Yeah,
Correct.
nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
but
That's
that's
great.
actually my first open mic ever was in Shanghai. I think October 2013. So it's actually not that long until I headline, and it's again kind of continuing the thread of if you're offered something and you have maybe imposter syndrome or you don't think you're qualified, just go for it and then see what happens. So
Nice. That's great advice. Fantastic.
yes. So
Yeah.
that's what I like. In hindsight, not a good comedian back then. And everyone, I actually, through your platform, I would like to ask everyone who was at this show to get in touch and I'll refund them.
Okay,
Yeah.
you heard it here first. Those of you
Yes.
who were in Beijing in 2014 to watch this, the Gulo
Yes.
Goodfellas, yeah, your
Yes.
50 renminbi refund is ready.
Yes. You're
Look for
50. Yes.
look for
Correct.
Muhammad
Get
Magdi.
in
Yeah.
touch. Yes. Get in touch and I'll refund you. It also included a beer. So you basically just get a free beer. And some idiot on stage not having any idea how stand up works because now I'm 10 years later and you're just starting to get it.
You know what? That's to do anything like they always say, right? There always must
Yes,
be a start, and you did. Well done.
exactly. The second item, so I collect, I wish I started from the beginning, but after like, 2 or 3 years of traveling and stuff, I started collecting boarding passes. So I have a bunch of them here in an Etihad, one of those like the pouches that they give you on a long haul flight for like toothbrushes and stuff. And it's already like bursting out. But I thought it could be fun to just pull a random boarding pass and
Yeah.
try to remember.
I think that's great.
So
I used to do that as well, and
mm,
then until technology took over. I mean, you do realize now that you can just get your boarding pass
mm.
on your phone, right? I'm just checking, if you
Yeah,
know that's how technology works.
it's a kind of a shame though because yeah, maybe it will make me sound like an old man because I am, but I obviously like those physical records are so important
Yes.
because like even the passport stamps they're also going away. Like Singapore doesn't give it anymore, Australia doesn't give it
Yeah.
anymore, a bunch of Hong Kong doesn't give it anymore either. They give you the little slip if you are a tourist, and as
Oh,
a
okay. Yeah.
resident you don't do anything, you just walk through. um, so that is annoying. I did pull a ticket completely at random,
All
and
right.
it
Let's
says
go.
destination. It says destination Chengdu, and it
Okay.
says 25th of July. It doesn't actually say where it's from. So that's already like I'm going to Chengdu on the 25th of July. That's actually one annoying thing about the boarding passes is that they don't put the year on it.
Yes,
That's
that's correct.
universal. They
Yes.
never put
Yes.
the year on, which is
Yeah.
very annoying because sometimes, like, years later, you're like, wait, which year was that? So he, I don't know where I was going from to Chengdu. If someone on your team can quickly, actually, let me find the flight number.
Do you
I don't even know what the flight
remember?
number is.
But
Yeah.
do you remember what year it was that you went to Chengdu?
N- No,
I mean,
actually, I've been only a couple of times. It would be my earlier years in China traveling
yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And I think actually now the closest I can think of, because I didn't have much money at the time and I was traveling a lot. It's like any money I save, I would just travel to just see China. Here's what I would say about this trip. I think I flew even though I didn't have much money because I would take trains before that to save money.
Yeah.
And I would get like really awkward experiences with local people who don't know how to have not seen foreigners before.
Wow.
And one particular experience stands out to me because I was sleeping on like a cheap train. That's well before like the Gautier now, what they call the bullet train, was so accessible. So I would just take the overnight train, and I was traveling between somewhere and somewhere. And I remember like an old Chinese man next to me trying to ask me something, and I spoke zero Mandarin at the time, like nothing. So I have no idea. I was trying to sleep, and then I woke up like after some time with this man touching my face. And turns out I had a very long beard. And turns out he just was curious about my beard, but he got his finger stuck in my beard. And so I woke up to this guy just trying to pull his finger out. I'm like, what the hell? And then I started yelling at him, and he got the attendant, and the attendant said, oh, he was asking you earlier if it's okay to touch your beard. He tried. And I said, okay. So when I didn't react, he just went for it anyway. I'm like, amazing. That's when I actually started, like, I'm like, all right, I'm flying even if I don't have money, because this is ridiculous.
And the only reason you found out is he got caught because he got caught.
Yes, he got caught. Yes. Because I was also traveling on a budget and I probably haven't washed my face in 2 days, so my beard was a mess. So he's just like, yeah, he just tried to pull his finger out, and I woke up to pain, like, in my face.
Your life is just enough material for all your stand-up comedies. I tell you that. I mean, there's a joke there, already, right? Hey, I was sleeping on the train, and the Chinaman stuck his finger in my beard.
I wouldn't say that word, by the way. I'm not allowed to say it.
I could say that. I could say that. Graf,
yes.
could say that. Take it away.
Yes.
The appropriate there is a man from China.
Yeah. Correct. A Chinese person. Actually, you can't even say man anymore. Maybe he, doesn't identify as a man anymore. Exactly.
That's right.
Yes.
He identifies as a beard poker.
Yes, he identified as a beard poker. That should be someone's title.
Oh man, I tell you, I mean that what he did was pretty shameful. But now it's your turn to show us your corner of shame.
Okay.
Right? This show, you're in Hong Kong, I'm in Singapore. We want to check out what's happening in your place, in your flat as well. So can you pick up your camera or just unblur your background and show us your corner of shame?
So I'll just unblur my background. Yes, and my background is quite easy. Yeah, it's right here already. So my corner of shame is behind me. There is an actual corner that I'll show you in a second, but behind me is another shameful thing, which is this is an airline blanket from, ironically, Chengdu Airlines. And yes, and this is an unsponsored plug to Bakehouse Hong Kong, which is a fantastic bakery that we have here. Always big lines. If you come to Hong Kong, make sure you check out Bakehouse, and they should sponsor me. Anyway, this blanket I stole from airlines, and I have about 5 to 6 more in there from different airlines. And I actually say stole just for the comedic effect. I actually think we are entitled to it as passengers. So maybe your viewers would debate me on this, and I will happily take the fight. But I think it comes with the ticket.
You're entitled to. You've never been arrested. You've never been stopped. So it's yours.
No. Yes, and I will also. So this is this one, and also they're very versatile in general because they're generally good quality, and they, I use it as a picnic blanket. I sleep on the couch with it. I wrap the dog in it. It's many different things.
Multi-purpose.
The other one that I also would say is from the same loot from a plane is also plain pillows. Same thing. I definitely think plain pillows are okay to steal, and you should not even hide them. You should just walk out of the plane with them, holding them up high. This one is from also Sichuan Airlines. I actually like their colors, so sometimes even if I don't need a pillow, I'll just take it because it's also great quality. Just make sure if you're flying economy like me all the time, you ask first because sometimes they run out. But the trick is you just tell them, hey, get me one from business class. But you have to get in there early. Otherwise, you'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, we ran out.
Good tip.
The last thing is this dog crate that I want to show you. So this dog crate is the actual, I'm just going to sit on the floor next to it and tell you. Yeah. The dog crate has a story because it's actually not mine as in, what? I need to adjust the headspace. There you go. Dog crate is not mine as in I didn't buy it and I didn't give it. I found it on the street. And I'm generally pretty cheap. And those dog crates like that you fly with, they're called PetMate, are really good quality. And you have to buy a lot of money to pay a lot of money to fly, like to get one for your dog if they are to fly. Now, I have no intention to getting rid of my dog or flying her somewhere. But since I found this, I'm so cheap that I actually decided that I should just send her somewhere else because I can't I have to make use of this beautiful crate. So now you think I'm joking. I am and I'm not, because I'm genuinely now in the process of moving her to Australia because I want her to go in the crate and enjoy it, because I found it on the street and it's brand new.
So you found it, and now you're going to use it and send your dog to Australia. Obviously, that costs money. My assumption is, are you following the dog to Australia? Are you telling us you're moving to Australia, or is it a one-way trip? I mean, what's going on here?
Well, it's also like I was thinking at some point that I should send her there to like spend like more like the last part of her life there, because it's just a lot of space and she likes space here. It's like quite small, but I didn't have actual practical like timeline to it. And then I found this. I'm like, it's time. So this basically kicked off the actual procedures of like giving her a new microchip and updating her vaccine card and stuff. So this is 100% true. I found this on the street the other day. I'm like, this is it, buddy. So yeah. She is not here right now because I'm about to fly. So we sent her to my friend, but she doesn't know that yet, that she will go away at some point. So that's my real corner of shame.
Thank you for sharing the corner of shame. And you are one random person just finding these things and then acting on it. For the sake of your dog, all of us here, Dear Future Grandkids, are really happy that you didn't walk along the streets of Hong Kong and find like a dog coffin. And then you probably go, I need time to use it.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh my God, that's too funny. You are completely bonkers and like that. And talking about bonkers in a way, you did share something about your childhood in terms of your dad being a police officer and with authority. That was quite difficult for you growing up. But could you tell us more about your dad? Because I know there's some interesting and bizarre stories about your dad. Maybe letting loose with a firearm?
Yeah, so he was very loose with the firearm in general. And when you grow up with something, I imagine all of your American viewers are familiar with this too. When you grow up with something that's like, even if it's like scary or whatever or bizarre to someone else, it's to you just a thing. So my dad would just come back from work, and he also used to train people at the gun range. So he's a professionally trained, basically, sniper. So the gun would be there, and that's fine. It's just a kid, it's like whatever. And he obviously would say, "Don't touch it," whatever. So, but the sight of it or him cleaning it after work is not even weird to us. He would just clean it on the dining table sometimes. If he finishes his food early, it's like, "All right, time to clean the gun." So one year, it was, I think, my 8th or 9th birthday or something. It was quite small, and my best friend at the time, his name is Mahmoud. It was just my dad. It chose, again, like my mom was making cake in the kitchen, and my dad chose a great time where there's a bunch of children around to clean his gun on the table, like the bin dining table where the cake will come later. And he just like basically has a towel spread and just the gun in pieces there. So my friend Mahmoud, who's the same age as me, goes, "Hey uncle, oh, nice toy." And he goes, "It's not a toy, kid. That's a real gun." And he's like, No, it's a toy. It's broken. You broke your toy." And my dad is like, "Kid, just go away. It's a real gun. Don't touch anything." He's like, "I'm not touching. I'm just saying it's a toy." So he basically teased my dad so much that my dad got so mad that he wanted to show him it's a real gun. So he started slowly putting it back together. And they have a thing with some of the 9mm that you can actually make it sound like you're shooting it, but it's a blank. It's not even a blank. It's not even a blank actual bullet. It's just air, basically. So he just puts it back together slowly and just shoots that air, but it sounds like a real gunshot in the house. And he's like, and it was kind of like of course, Mahmoud started freaking out and crying. And all of us, and it's just like the movies, when like the sound like, and then it comes back, everyone's ears pop, and then you see my mom coming out of the kitchen screaming, "You're nuts! What are you doing?" And then it's yelling at him, and that was my birthday.
Oh, that's your birthday.
Yes.
Dare I ask, how old were you on that day?
Well, I turned from 8 to 27 very quickly. Yeah, my hair grayed out in real time.
You grew a beard straight away.
I grew the beard straight away for the Chinese men to enjoy later.
That again, that is just bizarre in terms of all your stories, and then your stories about your dad as well. I mean, with an authoritative figure, and let alone letting a gun, shooting a gun. I know it just makes the sound to
Yeah, he
scare
generally
eight.
didn't have a very good sense of humor, but he was just unintentionally funny.
Yeah, I'm going to prove to an 8-year-old that it's not a
Yes.
toy; it's a gun.
Yes, exactly. I'm gonna prove to this 8-year-old. It's very important for me to show him that this is a real gun.
And there I asked, how's Mahmoud? Did he join the police force after this, or he just ran
No,
away from the police?
I think he might have gone the opposite way because now he's very chubby and has like 4 kids.
And he's hard, and he's been hard of hearing since then.
Probably hard of hearing. Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, if Mahmoud, if ever watching this, hi to you, and I'm sure this has
Yes.
triggered some
Yeah,
issues
yes.
for you again.
I don't
Listening
think
to
I
this.
want to send it to him because he might, yeah, just start having PTSD.
Yeah, you can send the therapy bills to Muhammad, as you know. And from those stories, and obviously you had an interesting life so far with all your
Mm.
stories that you shared as well. Was that a way of one day you thought you wanted to get into stand up? How did you get into stand up comedy? Because it's one of the most difficult things to do. I mean, according to me, I think standing up on stage and
Yeah.
making people laugh. I mean, what?
Yeah, well, I didn't like school growing up, and schools in Egypt in general are not that fantastic. So, and actually, it goes back to my problem with authority. Is like school also were like a bit strict. I guess most schools are when it comes to like kids. So I didn't like school, so I would just like stay up late at night, even after my parents would asleep, and I would just like flick through the TV. And at the time, because of the time difference, we would get um, the American late night TV shows like very late at night in Egypt. And my obsession was David Letterman. I don't know how it started. I think it was probably the only thing at the time that was like fit that time slot when I'm just flicking through the TV, and that was the only interesting thing to me. So I think for like I don't even know how many years, I would just steal the little cable from my parents' room after they fall asleep, take it to the living room TV, put it there, and I was like an electrical engineer because at the time, of course, it was super hard to get it right, and the TV was like huge. Honestly, if you get me to do it right now, I would have no idea how to even turn that TV on. I don't know how I got it done to like perfect quality every night. Uh, but yeah, I would just sit there and just like sit very close to the TV because I don't want it to be loud so they wouldn't wake
Loud.
up. So I would just watch David Letterman do top 10 lists, talking to Paul Schaefer, talking to guests, and I was just obsessed with it. And I think that, but I never thought like, oh, I want to be like him or whatever. I just liked what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And then cut to like a few years later, when like a teenager and the internet started like, being a thing in Egypt, I would like I think I found eventually on YouTube, I found Eddie Murphy and Russell Peters. And again, obsessed. This is when I'm like, oh, this thing that I really like, I'm laughing at, but also I think this is really cool what they're doing because
Mhm.
their only tool is their words. And I've always been like not a very strong person physically, so I'm like, I like that I can also, because I can be pretty good with words, so I can do the same like them. But again, I never thought of it as like I want to have this career. I just thought this is fascinating. And because of, I think, my love for David Letterman and then these guys, and then I watched what is called the Axis of Evil comedy tour. Back then, it was like 15, 20 years ago. It was an Egyptian American comedian, a Persian American comedian, and a Palestinian American comedian. And they did this tour called Axis of Evil. And it was cool because that's the first time I actually saw someone, comedian Ahmed, who is now a friend of mine. He was the first one who when I saw him, like, oh, cool. People from Egypt can also be doing the thing that I like. Uh, and then cut again forward to Shanghai, where I was just randomly chatting with a friend when I moved there, and he's like, "Oh, what are your hobbies or whatever?" And I said, "Oh, I like stand-up comedy. I've actually never been in a comedy club in my life. It would be so cool to see one." And he said, "Hey, there is a comedy club here in Shanghai." I'm like, "No way!" So I just went, and I had no idea even how it works, any of it works. Turns out when we went there is an open mic night. I didn't know the difference. I just
No.
went to the first show at the comedy club, but I didn't sign up on the day. I did watch, and then like, oh, there's like, very good comedians. There's also like terrible comedians. Again, now I know because it's open mic, it's normal. But then they always say at the end of the show, we're open for new talent. Open mic is for everybody. If you want to sign up, just sign up with this person. And I was like just excited enough to be like, I'll do it. But that was like in a week, right? So it's like the next Wednesday. So I signed up. I get an email the next day from the showrunner to the MC going, hey, this guy wants to sign up, copying you, blah, blah, blah. And I actually just like kind of came to my senses. I'm like, what the hell did I do? No, 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 no. I actually wrote the email that, no, don't worry about it. Sorry, I'm not available. But I never sent it because I just gave myself some time. I'm like, maybe let's see if I can do this. I just like, I can always cancel last minute or even not show up. Who cares? And I just kept delaying and delaying. And to build up my confidence, I actually started asking my friends if they can come the next week to support me. But I had no material. Like I told my friends to come, and we made a WeChat group, and it became so big. And the club is quite small. It's like 30, 40 people. So pretty much the WeChat group is going to be all my friends. Like that night is going to be all my friends, but I still have no material. But I think that helped me. Like, I think psychologically, I was trying to trick myself to not back out anymore. I'm now giving myself the responsibility. All of these people know that there is an open mic. I can't be like, hey, I'm not going. And that's how it started. I just kind of forced myself. And I never sent that email to cancel. And then I did the open mic the next week. Did great, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. Turns out I did great because all the room was my friends. The material was absolutely horrible. But the comedy club people, funny enough, now I run comedy shows, so I know all of these tricks. The comedy club people is like, hey, you're very good, you should come back. What they had in mind is that this guy brings friends all the time.
Friends, they're going to spend money at the club. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to try to do that same set, so I'm not going to invite anyone, so I can work on the set. So what happens is that the next week I sign up again with no friends. So, and I bomb horribly with the same material in front of actual audience members. So now the comedy club people don't like me and the audience doesn't like me. And I have to come out of this hole. And it took me maybe 6 months or something to write the first, what I would say, even something close to a proper joke.
Amazing.
That's how it started. Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, that's just perseverance. You subconsciously built yourself so that you can't back up by bringing all your friends in. Then you learn two important lessons in terms of performing in front of a group of people that love you and performing in front of complete strangers. And then, and tell you what, at the end of the day, what you have is just a skill that you're using now to make a living and that you love. But here at Dear Future Grandkids, we actually value all our guests that have a pointless skill. So with your interesting background, you must have one. What is your pointless skill?
My pointless skill has nothing to do with my background. It just, I would say I don't know what's the PC way to say, but it's probably the PC way to say would be like a deformity. I don't know. It's one. I don't know. It's I am double jointed. And that's quite freaky to a lot of people. So you can actually, I'm not moving my palm. It's just like my elbow can go pretty much. Yes.
Oh, wow.
And when I showed that to my girlfriend's sister, she commented that my hands look like feet. So I had both hands on the table, and she goes, "They look like feet," which I thought was very funny. So yeah, I'm completely double jointed. Apparently that's cool if you're like at the circus or whatever, because they put you in a cage with a midget. I don't know. The other one,
if it all fails, that's your future.
Yes, the other one that I learned recently, and I learned it because I went to an Indian uncle. Like I was getting a haircut, and it was an Indian uncle, and I didn't know they also wax your ears. So after he waxed my ear, which was very painful, I realized he got rid of all the tiny hair that you have on your ear. But that means that you can seal your ear and then make fart noises. And I thought that was
Really?
yeah, I don't know how much that mic can pick up, but let's try.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Well,
squeaking noise.
it sounds like a dog squeaky toy, but okay,
Correct.
let's give it as well.
Yeah.
Or
Well, it says
or
squeak. You can make your ears squeak, basically. Yes.
sorry, or a very demure sort of a tiny little fart. It's okay.
Yes, exactly. Tiny farts. Yes, I've been practicing since then. Since we talked for the first time every day to get. It's actually, yeah. It's louder than it's better than you give it credit for. It's quite loud.
You know what? We will believe you, and
Yes.
also thank you, and thank you so much for sharing with your pointless skill. We'll
Yes.
take a note of that next time we need a performer for little squeaky noises from your ear after you've seen the Indian
Yes.
uncle. We'll find you. We'll find you. Now
Yes.
we're just gonna pivot a little bit in this part
Mm.
of the show and just bring things down a notch or two because this is time, the time where if you've got your phone with you, we want you to pick it up and to leave a meaningful voice message for someone that is important to you, someone that has made an impact in your life, and we want you to leave the voice message so we can hear it because we like to eavesdrop here at Dear Future Grandkids.
Mm.
And if you get a reply before the end of the show, fantastic. We would like to hear it and find out who you send it to. So in your own time, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Um, do you want me to tell you who I would send it to?
Yeah, you can if you want to.
Yes, I would send it to my lawyer.
Okay.
I think he's very important person, and he is also super fun and cool. It's cool to have a lawyer who's like makes you laugh, and he's like a great guy. And he sent me all the time, like he would update me on his cases and stuff. So I'm just gonna send him a voice message.
I was going to say the first time in the history of Dear Future Grandkids that any of
Yes.
our guests have chosen his lawyer to send a message
Yes.
to. So I can't wait. Please go ahead.
Hey Adam, I am on a podcast called Dear Future Grandkids, and they asked me to send a voice message to someone who matters a lot to me, and I chose you because you are probably the best lawyer anyone can ask for outside of Trump's legal team. Probably they are better, but you're cool. Yeah, you're definitely funnier, and I know you've had some health stuff, so I just want to say that I respect you a lot, and I couldn't be luckier to have a better lawyer. And also, I'm gonna read this whole thing that you just sent me later because oh yeah, while I have you, I'm gonna tell the live stream here that Adam, by the way, everyone has used a meme in one of his legal cases recently, like a proper meme to use against the other side, and I thought that was really cool. He sent me a screenshot of the PDF of the whole claim, and one of them was like the meme. So that's awesome. Anyway, back to you, Adam. Yes, just want to say, love you, man. Keep being awesome. You actually made lawyering fun, and I don't know how that happened, but yeah, you made me think like, oh yeah, this actually could be a fun job. So all right, catch up soon. There you go.
Amazing. Adam sounds like a cool guy and sounds like
He's
he's more than
very
just a
cool.
lawyer. Sounds like your buddy.
Yeah. He's also a bit older. Like he's like probably above 50, and yeah, we chat sometimes. We got like I had a case, not like a crazy story or anything, but I had a case with immigration, Hong Kong immigration, that I needed legal representation with, and that's when I got with him. And yeah, since that was like maybe 2 years ago. And he's a criminal lawyer, immigration lawyer, and stuff. And he's just like a cool guy. So we just like hang out and send each other memes and stuff.
That's nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. And
Yeah.
what do you think his
All right.
reaction
What's
would be
next?
when he what do you think the reaction would be if he gets his message? He will laugh
Actually,
and tell you.
he will laugh, but he will also say something inappropriate, probably that I cannot play back or say. I mean, let me see what he says. But my inclination, I predict he will just say something completely inappropriate, because that's kind of his kind of humor.
Perfect. I like Adam
Yes,
already.
let's see what he says. Yes.
And now we're just reaching almost the end of the show. And this is just a really pertinent question. And it's something that we like to look in the future as well. So what we're saying is, what advice would the 80-year-old future you give today? That means the 80-year-old future Muhammad Magdi. What advice would that 80-year-old you give you today?
I think this is not the one when I say dear future grandkids, right? This is just older me advising
Oh,
me now,
correct.
right?
Now, yes.
Yes, yes. I think I would say to younger Muhammad, um, it's not that bad. That's number one. But also, genuinely, like, I think it's very important for people who come from, like, don't understand privilege to know that it's most of it is in your head, meaning that you run into something, and in your line of work or whatever, and you think people are just given things, but it's never people are just given. I have fully believe that everyone earned where they are. I think that's what it is. Everyone, like, whatever judgment you have on people, that you're like, oh, they're given this or they're so lucky, they earned it. Just always remember that.
Fantastic. And can we safely say this doesn't apply to Donald Trump?
Yes, that does not apply to Donald Trump for sure. Some people are lucky. I'm not dismissing the concept of luck. I am just saying that some people, people have harder lives than you think they do most of the time. In my experience, anyway. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I got a response from Adam that is actually luckily appropriate enough to share. It was a massive thumb penis. It's not that appropriate to share. It's a massive thumb penis.
We can't say that on the show. It's
okay.
PG.
Oh no, sorry. It's a thumb thing, and it says the next message says "Free Muhammad." I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Yes.
Just say it's a deformed thumb.
It's a deformed thumb, very long, and it says "Free Muhammad."
It sounds fantastic. Adam sounds fantastic. Muhammad, all we can say is thank you so much for spending time with us, because we know time is a premium, and thank you for building this video time capsule together. So
absolutely,
as we close the show, you get to leave a message. What do you want to say to your dear future grandkids?
Dear future grandkids, this is your grandpa speaking from Hong Kong. With a stolen airline blanket. You guys now fly in a 5-dimensional thing that takes 2 seconds to get you from one place to other. Back in my day, we used to steal blankets from the plane. Anyway, I just want to tell you quickly that I've had a great life. I have been very, very fortunate and very lucky with the things that I do. And I made a really cool decision about 10 years ago to pursue my passion and just try to be happy every day and try to be satisfied and with what I'm doing, because time is very limited. And if you're not, the one advice I will give you, if you're not happy with your job, leave it. I don't have another advice. If you're not happy with your job, don't stay in your job. That's it.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. Muhammad, thank you so much. We had such a great time. You are honestly, hand on heart, one of the most interesting people I've ever had the privilege to chat,
very nice.
with. And it's it's awful when they say, oh, he's so funny because he's a comedian. No, you are genuinely a funny person with real stories. And it's the kind of person that you love to sit down and have a drink with. And I can see why you've got all these friends and why you've done this as a career. Now, but before we go, can you give us a shout out in terms of where's your next gig and where can we find you? Or you're going to be performing?
Yeah, in Manila? Absolutely. Yeah. I'll be in Manila. I'm be in Manila on the 14th of February. I'm doing a Valentine's show with the Comedy Manila guys, doing an opening spot for my girlfriend Annie Louie. So you can just find Comedy Manila people and book it from there. I post everything on my Instagram, which is the other Mohammed. That's my Instagram handle, which is I think on the screen. And if you are in Hong Kong, I run a backstage comedy club, which is not really a club. It's just like a comedy promoter, and we're mostly based in Jardine House in Central. And yeah, we do shows all the time. The website for that is just thebackstagehk.com. You can just look up Backstage Comedy Hong Kong. And yeah, I tour all over, jump around sometimes, but mostly based in Hong Kong for this year, running like bigger shows and stuff. So come check us out. And in general, wherever you are, just see live comedy. I think that's really cool. It's a cool thing to spend your money, and generally I believe in spending money on experiences, not things. So, and I think stand up is one of the coolest experiences you can see live. So yeah, that's it. Go support your local comedy scene.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. So thank you all for watching Dear Future Grandkids. And if you're in Manila, make sure you go and support Mohammed on the shows, and also in Hong Kong as well. Thank you so much for watching. Mohammed, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your airline pillows and blankets.
Thanks for having me.
Keep looking at your boarding passes as well. Thank you all for watching. This has been Dear Future Grandkids. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye. See you.